kind of wonder, what is it about the Buffalo Bills going against a good team? And I mean, hey, they finally start showing what they're capable of, but I mean, it almost seems like the gods are descending on them. They seem to come right at the right point. And also, it just seems as though, what the hell? Is Sean Hockley and his crew against the Bills for some reason? Some really pathetic play calls, especially the one where he was tackled by his horse collar and his jersey ripped, but instead of flagging the Philadelphia for unnecessary roughness and that for the horse collar, Allen's flagged for intentional grounding. You know, it seemed Sean Hockley and his team were having a comedy day. You know, you got a long way to go to be your father there, especially with the biceps. You know, your father had some of the biggest biceps since Hulk Hogan and superstar Billy Graham. But it just seems as though you got a long way to go, buddy. And it just seems as though Buffalo just can't catch a break. I mean, they talk about the Buffalo sports curse. Boy, did it happen against Philadelphia. I mean, it's pouring rain. It's almost like, hey, Niagara Falls had descended on Lincoln Financial Field with the amount of water, and yet the guy makes a 59-yard field goal in pouring rain. And I mean, hey, come the second half, hey, Buffalo can't close out teams. Is it any wonder why we're 6-6 and pretty much our playoff chances are shot? I mean, it's unbelievable, some of the things that are happening. Well, it's a good thing that the bye is upon us, because, I mean, we still got the rest of the murderer's row to go. You know, I'm just wondering what's going to happen next. You know, Buffalo gave their heart there in that game. I finally saw a pretty good game played by Allen in that, although there was another interception. But, I mean, for heaven's sakes, what does it take for Buffalo to catch a break? I don't know. And I'm going to go from talking about them to talking about the Orange football team. At least there was some good news. But I mean, they tried their darndest to give it away. Heck, Wake Forest drove up and down the field in the second half on them they were at will. Well, I wonder, who was at will? Bill? Who knows? But I mean, heck, it was like a heavyweight fight, a punch and a counterpunch. I was half expecting Syracuse to be at the end, almost looking like somebody who got against Mike Tyson. Oh, I could have fought better, you know, I could have done this, but he knocked me out. Well, you know what? Syracuse had the last laugh. And finally, Garrett Schrader started looking like what he usually does, putting a little zip on that ball, even if he still is recovering. But you know what? The Cuse is going bowling. Now let's see what bowl game we're going to. I mean, there's any one of a number that they predicted. One's predicted the Armed Forces Bowl down there in suburban Dallas. I mean, you could say Fort Worth, but I mean, hey, I kind of say suburban Dallas. Another one has us going to Birmingham, Alabama. But I mean, heck, we're all over the place. I mean, there's even one called the Gasparilla Bowl, which is in Tampa. Supposedly it's named after like a legend down there. But I mean, sometimes you gotta wonder what's gonna happen if you eat at the Gasparilla Bowl. Are you gonna... I don't know. But I mean, heck, SU is going bowling. And I mean, congratulations to both James Madison and Jacksonville State. Thing is, there weren't enough teams to fill bowl slots, and they were in transition periods, meaning they were at first ineligible. But you know what? They are going to go to bowl games, and I feel James Madison deserves it. Because, I mean, that's a hell of a transition going from the FCS up to Division I, and James Madison did it pretty good. Kurt Signetti maybe on the list to be the next head coach for the Orange. But oh well. And of course, Dan Mullen said, love the Cuse, but I'm not going to coach you. Boy, that pretty much drove a thing right into SU's heart. We hope to get him and his SEC knowledge. Oh well, we'll see what happens. But I mean, I'm going to go from talking about the Cuse to Cuse basketball. Well, Maui Invitational was a litmus test, but the pH kind of looks a little off, especially with those losses to both Tennessee and to Gonzaga. I mean, the Orange could play with Tennessee, and I mean, against Gonzaga, they fell way behind early, came back, but they couldn't make it up. But against Chaminade, which I think is a good refreshing drink that you can have in the summer, boy, we put over 50 points of difference there. Of course, Chaminade's Division II. We weren't going to let them do what they did to Ralph Sampson in Virginia over 40 years ago. But I mean, tonight, it's the ACC SEC Challenge, and we got LSU coming into the Dome. LSU, they're kind of a below 500 team. I think SU's got a pretty good shot. But hopefully this LSU team isn't like the LSU women's team, who has Kim Mulkey as their coach and led them to the national title earlier this year. Of course, it seems as though this LSU team, women's team, kind of started out a little slow, but we'll see. It's going to be interesting seeing how we do against SEC before we play the Big Red. And heck, when we play Cornell, we need plenty of chewing gum, because they got the Big Red, if you know what I mean. I'm going to go from talking about SU basketball to talking about a former Syracuse coach. Well, Rick Stockstill was fired after 18 years leading the Middle Tennessee football team. But he's not the issue. Yeah, that's a good long time. And I still remember when he played for Florida State in the early 80s. But what I'm talking about is Middle Tennessee's defensive coordinator, Scott Schaefer. Yes, the same one who was the coach of SU's football team before Dino Babers. And, me and a lot of SU fans still remember the bull he pulled when SU played Middle Tennessee, and Middle Tennessee beat him. Schaefer walking off the field that he coached, lighting a cigar in celebration. That really irked me, and a lot of SU fans still irks me years later. You know what, Schaefer? Now you're going to wonder where you're going to work. Probably not with the Cuse. And if you have another stogie like that, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take that stogie and shove it up your ass. Oh, well, I'm going to go from there to saying, hey, it's almost time for a high school basketball to tip off. Yes, the Waterloo boys tip off Thursday against Bloomfield. And Friday and Saturday, it is the tip-off tournament for the Waterloo women to defend their state title. But with the amount of losses they've suffered there due to graduation, this Waterloo team's going to have a big thing to fill. Like I said, it's going to be a long shadow for the Waterloo women. But knowing Mike Bree, he'll have them ready. And the Minders teams, I'm going to be looking at them, especially the Minders boys team with Jack Brady on the team. We'll see what happens. High school, it's about ready to tip off. And last but not least, one story I saw yesterday, it's another one where I just think about the gullibility of some people. Some people were mortgaging their houses, paying almost $250,000 for a company that promised a three-year cruise around the world to visit 135 countries. And mortgaging your home and everything for that kind of raises a red flag. but then they come back and say they don't have a suitable boat. Why the hell would you offer something like that if you don't have a suitable boat? You must think that, hey, before you offer something like that, you ought to have something that'll work. And I mean, it just shows the gullibility of some people, that they believe anything that is said and is promised. You know what I say about gullibility? Check out a bird. I'm Ken Haas, and those are my rants this week.